Buongiorno. How are you? Welcome to Vinyl Junkies, episode 26. I hope that this finds you well. Maybe a short one, maybe a sweet one. It'll be a real one, whatever it is. But it's being broadcast with so much anxiety, which somehow I will try to filter into a discussion about music. I may fail miserably. That's where the fear is. Why do I do this to myself? We'll start off with some VJ news. We'll start off with some sponsors after that. Okay, just to give you a little bit of a rundown. Next Friday, we got a show with Hessler. What's in your cart? New member cart at Vinyl Me Please next week. Actually, not this Monday coming, but the Monday after. So me and Hessler are going to do our regular monthly thing where we pick $100 worth of records and see, what we picked and what was left on the table, and hilarity generally ensues. I can't promise it, though. We all get grumpy. So yeah, that's going to happen. No show on the last Saturday of the month, January 27th. I'll be going to California to attend the NAMM show. And those two things there were brought to you by Vinyl Me Please, which actually was already mentioned, right? So the best damn record club out there. Did you guys like the Moby? Is the Moby good? I might have a Moby story. I'm not sure. But click on our sponsors. Pick your record, man. And you know what? If you comment and you share and you do all of that stuff, you know that I hand out records. I do it. I like doing it. I enjoy it. You should also look at some records like the one that you're seeing on the screen right now, Hank Williams' Sun Records compilation. They just took a bunch of Sun singles and compiled all various artists that did Hank Williams tunes. It's amazing. And there's some kind of Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, I forgot what, Carl Perkins thing, split that's happening at Barnes & Noble. So you might be seeing some Sun Records in your bins. So Vinyl Style is actually who it is that I'm going to meet with in NAMM. The folks there are fantastic. They outfit me with brushes and bags and all that. They provide the highest level of sustainability for your records and accessories, while most importantly remaining affordable. It's true. Protect your collection with Vinyl Style today. Vintage solutions for the modern era. There's going to be some deeper stuff there. So, I'm not going to California to work on my tan. I mean, look at me. A bit of sunshine is not going to help me. So, yeah, that's all going to happen. Now, let's continue with this. Should I talk about Billy and Ministry and Run Out Groove, or should I talk about obscure records? How about the one that scares me probably the most of all, my conversation with Diamanda Galas? Not phone conversation, just email exchange. Wow. I'll get into it a little bit because I guess, I've let the cat out of the bag. There will be an interview with Diamanda Galas forthcoming. And it's made for an interesting week. Listen, it's pretty obvious it's at the forefront of my mind. So that's what it is that I'll start off with. There are some reviews, though. If you guys see, what I'll do is stop talking right now. No, you know what? Just keep it like that. When you see the review section, I created a little carousel. So those are the records that I probably will be talking about. It's the new stuff that came in. Diamanda Galas. When I put my record collection together from a very, very early age, that compulsion to collect records, that compulsion to just have and have and have and have. I mean, look, we all have it, face it, A guy who spends huge parts of his day listening to music in his basement while in his pajamas, there's a reason why you break from society. So we're all kind of weird. We got our little compulsions. We got our little OCDs. We got all this. Look, face it. Music is curing something in us, right? Music is doing something to save our souls. That fucking torment that we have inside us. I hate it. music makes all that better. And to me, when I said I was going to do a show like this, I always said Gonzo Radio, which is what I meant by that is not to be Hunter S. Thompson. It's just to connect in the most visceral way possible. To try, if anything, to connect that emotion that brings music to us. And if we're going to do an interview, not just do an interview, but have a discussion with somebody. Because question and answer can be dull, and it seems like an uncomfortable type of scenario. You know, two people, especially if they don't know each other and so forth. So, I'm very respectful of Diamanda Galas. Been listening to her art for a good long time, and you know, had pretty much told her that, but I didn't want to kind of come off as gushy and fanboyish, because I kind of am, simply because she's a singular voice in this world, man. There's nobody that does what she does. So, in trying to secure this, you know, we began speaking, and she speaks several languages, so, you know, and I know that from watching past interviews that she's very, very family-oriented, and, you know, she began her career playing piano with her father's band, so I understood this, you know. So I approached it in a way that was kind of respectful, you know. Anyway, the long and short of it is that a conversation happened. I mean, this is before the interview, and I know that right now, you know, she's in San Diego. I believe her mom is very ill, so she's taking care of her mom. But I read a poem of hers, and it connected with me deeply, and we were connecting on levels that had nothing to do with music, but certain difficult pain in our life right now. And it's like, whoa. I think about that kind of thing as a show, as a radio show. I mean, what are people coming here for? They're coming here for the music. They're coming here for the, you know, vinyl news, which is there. But where's the line? How did Howard Stern know what stays behind the line? What? So frustrating. But as I take the kind of like, as I pull the lens back a little bit, how amazing that Diamanda Galas, you know, and her art frightens me. It does. Is the one who may wind up comforting me during the same time that my mom is passing away of cancer under completely different circumstances. And I can't pretend that that doesn't affect your listening. It doesn't affect your worldview. It doesn't affect... That's, I guess, what I meant by Gonzo Radio. What are you supposed to do? 1 hour. I woke up in the morning, and I can talk about what's on this sheet, but there's this thing. It grips you. You understand? And it doesn't let you just be. That thing sometimes takes control of you. It's called mental illness. And when you're all happy and fucking yodeling, it's cool. But what happens when you come crashing? What happens? This is what happens. So what do you do when you got a show like this one, the show that you guys are watching right now, all three of you? Doesn't matter, you watch it, don't watch. What happens? It becomes a part of the show. All right, I'm going to stop there because Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, I will be talking about these people. Jimi Hendrix, Sly and the Family Stone, Woodstock, Monterey, Cadet Concept, Status Quo. All this stuff will be talked about because I put together this kind of like story which revolves around a record that I received from the Vinyl Me Please box this week. Reverend, what is it? Reverend Pastor T.L. Barrett, Like a Ship. It's a record that just was reissued by Numero Group, and it's basically gospel funk. And as I started talking about gospel funk, there was some Stax records in there as well. And in an interesting little bit of serendipity, we had an animated discussion on the forum about those two electric albums that were released during Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf's career. They released two records, one called just Electric Mud and the other one that says this is Howlin' Wolf's electric album. He didn't like it. Anyway, those two records, especially the Muddy Waters record, wound up getting into a discussion about this, and the jazz purists, I mean, the record's, I wouldn't say divisive. That's not fair because it's not like there's anything shocking. But on the other hand, you know, we had one member of Vinyl Junkies that approached this music from a blues perspective, like just a lover of blues. And I can understand that a record like Electric Mud will be jarring, because that was the entire point. And as we go there, then it starts getting into Pastor Barrett. So I'm going to try to interpose all of these things. And I guess what we'll do is we'll start with Muddy Waters and we'll start with Howlin' Wolf and those two records that they hated so much, namely Electric Mud, and this is Howlin' Wolf's electric record. I don't know. There's something written on it. Worst part about it, it's written on my ceiling. Let me turn around. I'm going to go check it for you. This is Howlin' Wolf's new album. He doesn't like it. He didn't like his electric guitar at first either. The reason I know that is because that poster came with the Howlin' Wolf record, and I just took it and stapled it to the ceiling of the record cave. So the musicians did not like those records. The idea of electrifying something that... and changing something as pure as the blues that they grew up with and took to with them to Chicago to record their legendary sides, you know. The idea of changing that certainly wasn't something that interested them in any way. Thing is that Chess was looking to branch out and sell more records. And they noticed that what the kids were doing were buying a lot of this rock and roll stuff. What they also noticed is, you know, a thread that we'll just keep seeing over and over again as we talk about this period of music, you know, the late 60s and early 70s. But in this particular case, you know, Woodstock broke a lot of things open, changed a lot of norms, and, you know, forever. I mean, they still exist. You know, there's the R&B charts and there's the pop charts. And once upon a time, those charts were completely separate very often. And the music, that segregation of music was there until a band like Sly and the Family Stone came into the picture. And they were the actual only first fully segregated band to ever play music and score hits. So people who were consuming music weren't consuming the old stuff anymore. They were consuming what Woodstock had to offer, what Flower Power had to offer, what rebelling against the Vietnam War had to offer. So music got trippy, and acid was consumed and reefer was smoked, and the music that came from it was just amazing, you know. When you see a lot of people just get caught up in the garage era of that time, or the acid rock era of that time, or whatever, it's a very, very deep, fertile period in rock and roll music. So the guys of Chess, okay, Leonard Chess, I believe it was his son, that was saying, look, you know, we need to branch out here. We need to be able to reach this crowd because these guys buy records. And I mean, look at what Jimi Hendrix is doing. You know, so he's ushering in all of this new blues. Why don't we try to get hip to that? You know, Miles Davis is playing these large festivals. We got to catch that wave. So what they thought was, first off, just start a label, okay, geared towards those people. We'll call them those people, but just geared towards that crowd. Okay, the label became called Cadet Concept. Now, if you pick up Cadet Concept records, you'll see there's some really weird stuff on that. But some of the trippiest stuff in the world, namely the first of the trippiest for me, would be the Rotary Connection, which is just wholly unique psychedelic renditions of songs like Goodbye Ruby Tuesday and Soul Man. And you have to hear it to understand it. And those of you that know what I'm talking about when it comes to Rotary Connection, it's like, yes, no one sounds like that. Of course, Rotary Connection also, famously featured Minnie Riperton, who sang that song, Loving You, South Park fans. La 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 la, 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 do 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 do. That I can't sing higher than that. So they wanted to get people buying those records. So Cadet Concept was a label, a sub-label of Chess that was created so that they could reach this audience. And one of the first bands was exactly that, was the Rotary Connection. Another very popular band was Status Quo. If you guys haven't heard the Rotary Connection Christmas album, just pick it up on Contact. I promise it's not like any Christmas record you've ever heard. It's amazing. I know, we're fed up with Christmas, but I should say, because it is that good. This is a band worth tracking down, I think. Like I said, Status Quo was another one. So, with Cadet, what they thought is, hey, you know what? Let's boost our label. What we'll do is we'll take two of our Chess kind of like, staple artists, and we'll put them together with this younger band, and we'll give it a hip feel and see if we can't market some of that festival culture and get Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf playing in front of 50 and 100 million people. So what they did was they had Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters come in and play with basically the Rotary Connection in the background, funking it up. Now, anyone that hears the Rotary Connection knows that it doesn't sound anything like Chicago blues. It jarred many. They hated it. The musicians, as a matter of fact, there's one clip on the Howlin' Wolf record where he immediately kind of just says, these kids don't understand, man. The electric guitar, it's not the same thing. And, they were very, very resistant to this. And I don't believe the records did very well either. The thing didn't catch on. So, it seems like in vinyl circles or just in music circles, a lot of people are kind of deriding these two records as, flops or just anomalies in their catalog. And it's like, no, they weren't anomalies at all. When these records were recorded, the people at Chess or Cadet Concept knew what they were doing. This was a project that was geared specifically towards an audience that sat outside the, Chess's core audience, the jazz blues type of thing. So, I guess that's my story behind it. Other artists that appeared on Cadet are Phil Upchurch, amazing guitarist, and you'll see why it is that I mention him and why actually I brought this whole theme together the way I did right now. I think I'm going to start talking on reviews. Looks like it might be a short show. Cool. Billy. You guys love Billy. You guys love Run Out Groove. Look, one of you is going to win a copy of Ministry's Greatest Fits. Okay, I'm going to announce the name at the end of the show. There's another one of you that's going to win something. You pick your record from Vinyl Me Please, share this, tag this. You know how that works, right? But that's coming at the end. You guys really like Billy. 31,000 views on that video, and we're going to be seeing him every month. So I'm glad about that. VJ Reviews. You'll notice that I included a carousel for those of you in Facebook land or television land. I included a camera that kind of like flips those records. Maybe I'll talk about them, maybe I won't. I'm going to ramble and see what comes out of my hole. I guess first of all, one that I will definitely talk about is Jazzmatazz, because I've said time and again that one thing Vinyl Me Please is really doing well is hip hop. I think they were recently voted by some kind of a magazine, or I don't remember what, but I saw some high accolade that was given to Vinyl Me Please and named as the best record label of the year, and I kind of got that. I'm going to save that conversation for next Friday with Hessler, but all this is to say that they've really been nailing some things, and the hip-hop front is one of them. Jazzmatazz, too, is a record that badly needed a reissue, and, they scored a numbered version of that. You have to see... For those of us that are of the age where we were buying mostly CDs, I bought it on CD, but for most of us that were buying that type of music at that time, we remember, man, it was mind blowing. It's the combination of jazz and hip hop was something that just did sound new. I know to my ears, especially coming from a background of Ice-T and Public Enemy, and even what's it called, gangster rap. So bringing that jazz there was a big thing, and Jazzmatazz was a huge pioneer of this. So just for you guys that aren't familiar with Jazzmatazz, let me tickle your tits a little bit and give you a rundown on just some of the musicians. Shaka Khan's on it, right? She sings a song on it. Bernard Pretty Purdy is on it. One of the greatest funk drummers in the world, creator, I guess, or popularizer of the Bernie Shuffle, the Purdy Shuffle. He's on this. Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, CTI superstar. He's on it. Michelle Indigeo cello. I know we haven't heard from her in a while, but she is one badass bassist. And the reason I mentioned Michelle is because I noticed that a new record is supposed to drop in 2018, and Michelle hasn't released a record in a long time. So Michelle and the Gay Cello's on this as well. Donald Byrd's on this. Ramsey Lewis is on this. Again, speaking of Cadet, so you'll see why I came up with the term. Ramsey Lewis also recorded a bunch of records with Cadet. Then again, he kind of recorded with everybody. So that Jazzmatazz sounds every bit as good as you'd expect it to. The one place where I would say, does it really sound aged? Does it sound like it hasn't aged well? I'm not really sure anymore, because when music is a part of your fabric, when music is, when certain albums or artists are things that followed you throughout life, you're not listening to it in terms of, oh, it's current or it's not current. It's just, it's part of who you are, So I'm saying this because in listening to some of the newer hip hop, like Kalela or Run the Jewels or anyone else, names don't come to me, obviously. Not Kanye, but Jesus Christ, damn, Kendrick Lamar. I would think that all of these guys kind of lend from what Jazzmatazz brought, and Jazzmatazz was really one of the first musicians that openly brought jazz musicians in, gave them work, shed a light on it. It's kind of, how can I tell you, the whole jazz hop, I call it, but that whole jazz hop thing where, that melding happens. So you got a Tribe Called Quest and Diggable Planets, and other names aren't coming to me right now, but the vibe I'm talking about. They took samples from jazz and they worked with those samples, and it flavored the music and it was a part of the music. But Guru went a step further and actively promoted. So he's kind of toasting these musicians, shouting them out and making sure, kind of like, hey, if you don't know who Donald Byrd is, go pick up a CD. Or go pick up a record, I say CD because back then that's what it was. So it was albums like Jazzmatazz that really made me dig into jazz a whole lot more. There was a period there, that confluence where jazz and hip hop were really, really close, and one was educating the other. You know, I mean, even the harder stuff like NWA had tons of funk jams on them. You know, so which brings me to the next record I'm going to talk about. I'm not sure. There's the Jazzmatazz. Rest in peace, Guru. Pastor T.L. Barrett, Like a Ship Without a Sail. This is a record I wasn't even going to pick myself, but when Hessler and I did our last Vinyl Me Please episode, Hessler picked this one. And, you know, I already had a bunch of them, and I wanted that Thelonious Monk box set so badly, so I kind of left it off the list. He put it in the box because it's one that he chose, and I understood immediately why he chose it. And I mean, there's a few signifiers right away. Okay, he never, or did he tell me that it was on Numero Group? But the fact that it's on Numero Group, yeah, he did. He did mention Numero Group during our show. Okay, so the fact that it's on Numero Group, you know, he mentioned it, so that automatically kind of casts an album in a certain light because you know that it's going to be curated in a certain way and a certain standard's going to be there. You know, then it's like, okay, well, I didn't put it on my list. It was in the box. I was happy to see it's in the box. As I'm looking it up in Discogs and putting it in, I notice also that it was released a couple of years ago on Light in the Attic. I'm not sure what that partnership is, Light in the Attic and Numero, or if it was just two different licenses. But again, to me, that's another big indicator that it's like, all right, this is can't miss. So as I'm reading this and putting it in, I understood immediately why it wound up at my doorstep. We go a step further, drop the needle, and it's funk. What do you want to say, man? It's funk. It's the type of funk you can imagine Curtis Mayfield making. And, you know, Curtis Mayfield, especially with the Impressions, did have that Jesus thing happening. But it's straight up funk. And the choir is kind of like following along in that way that's, you know, trying to get the beat there for you. And as I'm listening to this music, I'm going into what I call my vinyl routine, which is to say that, you know, what we do. Get a drink, we smoke something, we sit down, we read the liner notes. In my case, I research on the net, just the fun stuff that makes listening to music on vinyl what it is. And I take a look at the liner notes and okay, well, who's on it other than Phil Upchurch, which again is another tie to Cadet. Phil Upchurch is a fantastic guitarist. I've got only 2, I believe, albums from him. I posted one earlier this week, and again, you know, Cadet just seemed to organically be a part of the group discussion. And look, man, that's that's what's great about Vinyl Junkies. The fact that we come there and we don't fight, man. It's not a pissing contest. We talk, we discuss, and we share our passion for music and our lives at the same time. You know, even when the lives are tough. Hey, I'm getting through this somehow, right? You get started, but that's slow. It sucks. Anyway, Phil Upchurch is on this. So it's like, wow, Phil Upchurch, what's he's doing there? And as I'm listening to it, the bass line is popping off like, okay, wait a second. No, this is not just a regular orchestra. I mean, this is professional musicians. And I take a look, and it's a session musician from Chess. So how did it come to be? Read the liner notes. No, actually, there weren't any liner notes. I got this offline, but it seems that Pastor T.L. Barrett was basically at the right time. He always liked music, and music was a big part of him, but there was a bustling music scene in Chicago during that time, during those anti-Vietnam, Black Power years, right? So, you know, people like members of Earth, Wind, and Fire all were there. And I mean, my assumption is that if Earth, Wind, and Fire were there, probably Mario Van Peebles was there too, but I didn't check that. But it wouldn't surprise me. And I start looking at pictures and seeing that, you know, this pastor's hanging out with Stax artists like Isaac Hayes. It's like, oh, okay, now this is getting interesting, but what's the connection? Again, it's just that funky. It's just that funky. The music was so good, it attracted people who might go to church, but it attracted musicians who went there to listen to the music. And it's like, that's when you know you got it right. And that's when you know that it's kind of like the music transcends whatever category you're going to put it in. So it's not just a question of like A Ship Without a Sail being a good gospel record. No, it's a good record just in general. And it's gotten very high accolades from people from Radiohead and My Morning Jacket. A big deal record is to say, and I understood. Good choice, very, very highly recommended if you see it in stores. Pastor T.L. Barrett, Like a Ship Without a Sail. If you're a member of VMP, snap it up now. You don't want to see what's happening on Discogs. Just, it's a good one, man. Fun discovering music. I love it. Piero Umiliani, Grazie. I guess I should speak about because I'm the one who went off on it. And it's a 2 LP set, which is great, looks great. It's a good retrospective of a larger area of his music than I initially expected. Now, when I say that, I had expectations, but I didn't read the set list. I didn't read any of that. But as I became I get excited about any Umiliani record. So when I heard about this Umiliani record, immediately for me, the idea was I have to have it. And I saw that it was a retrospective, a best of type of thing. So the big records that were missing in my collection was the stuff that was put out or reissued by Easy Beat, the electronic stuff. So Musica Electronica, there's one called An Ode to Duke Ellington, all Duke Ellington songs done, in this just mogy electronic, psyched out version. And then there's the record I really, really want, which is Today's Sound. Today's Sound is legitimately one of my favorite electronic records. So as I was reading the liner notes, I saw it's like, oh, okay, 7 songs are coming off Today's Sound. I was excited. So I kind of went in with that, even without reading the list. But when I dropped the needle, I went in with the idea that I was going to get that theme. Why? Because those records were reissued by the Italian label Easy Tempo. And Easy Tempo really focused on the psychedelic, psychedelic Italian and British library music, a lot of Italian stuff. So I had tons of it. So I guess I went in with that. And what you're going to get, as a matter of fact, for people who are new to Umiliani, is a career retrospective. You're going to get really a taste of all of his stuff. If you're looking for the electronic stuff, you're going to find a lot more of that on sides 3 and 4. But altogether, I'm probably not the right guy to ask, because I think there are no bad Umiliani records. But if you're looking to dip your toe into Piero Umiliani and you like soundtracks already, there aren't many of these. You'll want them, and if you don't snap them up now, the soundtrack market now is crazy, so expect somebody to snap them up. So forever hold your peace is what I'm saying. Chalice All-Stars is exactly the one I want to talk about next, Madlib. This was Vinyl Me Please's rap and hip-hop selection for last month. I mean, listen, it's Madlib, right? Those of us that love Madlib will buy anything from him, whether it be the Beat Conductor series or the Medicine Show. In this case, we're looking at Medicine Show. And one area that really, I think, cemented Vinyl Me Please's reputation as, this record label of the year is this series of records with Madlib, the Medicine Show stuff. What he did was, the entire idea behind this was Madlib put together a series of 13 episodes. It was supposed to be one for every month, and it wound up stretching to 13, but with different themes. And every month he would release one of these mixes. Volume 2 was what we saw the month prior, which is to say Flights to Brazil, Madlib just taking a whole bunch of really rare Brazilian beats and putting them together in an amazing mixtape. And it frustrated me that he didn't include the titles, and I get that, but one of our members knew almost everything on it, so If you look up flights to Brazil, take a look. There's one place where you're going to find just almost the entire name list because somebody went through the trouble of doing it. Why am I mentioning this? Because I really hope that there's somebody who out there that knows his dub and his toasting and just his reggae in general enough to be able to give me the artists on this. Look, it's amazing. If you like reggae, it's amazing. If you don't have any dub records, get this. There's nothing to say. It's Madlib. He never does it wrong. It's the first time it's on vinyl. So, again, grab it now because if you don't, it's gone. Before that, it was available if you bought the brick, right? So what they did was they released the box set and put all 13 volumes together called the brick. That was available, but, you know, not all of us have it. To see this stuff come out one volume after another makes it so that I'd really like it if anyone, well, Vinyl Me Please, sure, but release all 13 volumes. It's nice to have the entire story, you know, so it's kind of like if you read Harry Potter and you got like the first book and you got the third book, you know, you need the series. So I think that's an interesting possibility for a record well worth it. And considering that it's the first ever vinyl release, it's great. It sounds great. We'll move on to Chris Stapleton, which you see there, which is another record that I'd seen Chris Stapleton. And as you know, I do my picks. I always saw his records on the VMP shop, on the VMP pages. But I didn't know what it was. And I am very interested in this whole country, outlaw country revival thing. I love it. And I kind of got that he was there. But again, you know, maybe it's because we're up here in Canada, but didn't know too much about it. So always on the radar. Once again, Hessler and me get to talking, and he keeps mentioning this. Boom, a little while later, he winds up getting a Grammy nomination. Then others tell me that this guy plays to large audiences and is really popular. I don't know at all. I put the needle on Volume 2, and that's where I started, and it took no time at all to understand why this guy is such a big deal, because the music is so earnest and it represents everything that America wants to be and is proud of. It sounds wholesome, but it doesn't sound wholesome and hokey. You know what I mean? It's just good old American music is what it is. Just good old outlaw country. And there's no pretense to it at all. And it made me want Volume 1 immediately. So yes, Chris Stapleton is officially on my radar, and I'd like to check other things. I know you guys did mention before that he belonged to a couple of country bands before he went off solo. I'd like for you guys to post those if you don't mind, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to go on a little bit of a dig. Chris Stapleton, Volume 2. Again, I don't have Volume 1 to compare it to, but amazing. Next one is what you see right there on the page, which is... That's The Calm Before... What the fuck's the name of the band? The Storm. My memory! Cocksucker. The Rising Storm. Break your records. Break everything. Chris Stapleton. Isn't he handsome? Isn't he handsome? So, yeah. What's his fucking name again? The Storm there. The Storm. The Coming Storm. What's the name of that band? The Rising Storm. I am so professional at reviews. No, because the names ultimately don't mean a single thing as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about you guys, but I don't spend time looking at the names of the songs. I don't know them. I'm listening to the music, and I mean, you pick them up, but for the most part, I don't. So The Rising Storm is something that was, it's a latest offering by Sundazed Records. You'll notice it came out just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it's top-level Boston garage rock from the late 60s. Again, we're talking that same period that I seem to be going back to, but this is really just a bunch of Boston kids, a Boston sextet who met in high school, put together a band, and decided to scrap together just $1,000. And with that $1,000, they recorded that record, The Calm Before, and got 1,000 records out of it as well. No, sorry, 500 prints of their record as well. And the story goes, all because it's in the liner notes. The liner notes are amazing. Sundazed, I should say, does liner notes properly. So the reason I know all of this and can tell you is it's all there and it's nicely legible. But what they did was they contributed a whole bunch of money together, $50 at a time, from gigs that they were doing from after school in order to make this record. And they were quite popular from what I know. But they sold half the records. Half of them they gave away to friends and family, kept for themselves. The band disappeared into obscurity. All of a sudden, the collectors come into the picture. Collectors make the most obscure thing redonkulously expensive. And that's what happened with this record, The Rising Storm. Suddenly, according to the liner notes, somebody paid something stupid like $16,000 or $13,000, a crazy price for the record. And if you look on Discogs, none are available. So yeah, it's a very highly sought after record because, well, it's a little local Boston band from high school, but that's the beauty of records, man. That's the beauty of the dig. And I think Sundazed understands the dig better than anybody else. Even the design, they really do it right. If you see that record, the Rising Storm, The Calm Before, and you like garage rock, you're gonna dig that one also. There's also they put out the Ultimate Spinach's first record, so you should see if that's out there. Very good Boston band as well, also garage rock. And I may be at the very end of my show. Oh, can I tell you some of the stuff that I was able to pick out from the 420 Chalice All-Stars? Just a couple, but I'm hoping that you guys can pick out more. Eka Mouse, Lee Scratch Perry, of course. As far as I know from the literature I did, Madlib was very influenced by Super Ape when he put this set together. And I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Who isn't influenced by Super 8? It's the it's a hell of a standard for a reason. Who else was on it? King. Which one's King? I don't remember. Mad Professor. Was Mad Professor on it? I'm not sure. Horace Andy. You can hear his voice there, so it's not all just dub. You're going to hear a lot of toasting. So the U-Roy and I-Roy are there and so forth. Pick it up if you can. I'm not sure that it's the kind of thing that'll be... I don't know, man. Records... The growth of vinyl is happening so fast, I don't know anymore. So yeah, that's the show. I'm going to give you two winners. One for the Run Out Groove will be Dan Gendro, because it's his birthday today. Dan Gendro or Dan Gendro. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. It's a good way to end it. And our VMP winner will be James Martin. You will be communicated with, and I thank you for your time. Sayonara.